is Krishna Kirti, and I am currently the president of the Samprajyna Institute, a new policy think tank formed in 2008, formed for the sake of investigating issues where Dharma and public policy meet. I'm here to say a few words about Sri Rajiv Malhotra's excellent book, Breaking India. The book is relevant when one understands what is the value of India. And if someone asks that question, what is valuable about India, some things come to mind. The cuisine of India, which we all just had some, yoga, perhaps some art. But I think those things miss the point. The real point of India is its spiritual tradition and culture. And so the Indian tradition, the contribution of India to humanity is the understanding that realization of God and realization of the absolute truth are not on the same platform. And as we've seen practically, that incomplete realization of God or incomplete realization of the absolute truth that stops at God results in so many irregularities in society and throughout the civilizations. We're all familiar with religious violence, or religion used in all sorts of unwholesome ways. And the people who reject such incomplete realizations of the absolute truth are also just as guilty. We're also familiar with the excesses of the Soviet regime and the communism and fascism. These are just as guilty as those who have incomplete realization. Now, once one understands that, one realizes one has an inkling of the true value of India. And so what Rajivji has done with his book is he has awakened us to the forces that seek to actually destroy and end that culture. And what to speak of being a great loss to humanity, that would be, well, it would just be a terrible loss. When I first got Breaking India I was skeptical about it, because my familiarity with the different issues of which Breaking India was talking about, my view of the Western civilization, my perception is that Western civilization is in a state of decline. And it's been in a state of decline for the past 100 years. If you ask, and if you seek any top scholar in political science or history, they will also say that. For example, the late Samuel Huntington, one of the most brilliant philosophers of the 21st century, now the 20th century and also the 21st century, the last book he wrote was called Who Are We?, which was his attempt to try to define what American culture is. And his big worry was actually similar to Rajivji's very excellent book, which is that American culture and civilization will eventually lose itself. So based on that, I was skeptical. He says, well, how can the West be how can the West be a threat to Indian civilization when the West itself is declining and is in such a state of decline that it's hardly in a position to save itself? So I set out to read the almost 600 pages of his book. It's certainly a breathtaking endeavor. And by the time I finished, I found I was completely agreeing with him. That yes, that the forces, the civilizational forces that are discussed at length in the book, specifically threats coming from the Western civilization as well as the Sinic or the Chinese civilization and the Islamic civilization, could in fact destroy the Indian civilization. And I don't need to explain anymore why that would be a great loss, but it's enough to know that that is an existential threat. And what he's very nicely done is that he has also connected the dots. And he's connected the dots by providing a conceptual view of the different forces that are either wittingly or unwittingly conspiring to destroy India. So his book, in my opinion, is a breathtaking work. It's an immense intellectual achievement that the only other work that I can think of that is similar to it was the work of Sitaram Goel. He wrote a book that documented in 2 volumes the destruction of temples in India. And in that book, Sitaram Goel took a survey of history, and from 80 Muslim historians, scholars, and information sources, and documented the book. And not one person in the academic establishment could refute those facts. So I think Rajiv Malhotra's book, Breaking India, is in a similar category. But what he has done is he hasn't simply documented the destruction of temples. He has documented the destruction of ideas, the idea of the Indian civilization. And ideas, as we know, they're stronger than stone. So therefore, what he's shown in his book is that there's a real existential threat against India and Indian civilization. And I believe that anybody who is concerned about this threat or these threats, and even those who are skeptical, but who are concerned about India and love India, should read this book. And by reading this book, I believe they'll have a much better idea about how to go about preserving the legacy of the Indian civilization. And for that, we all have to thank Sri Rajiv Malhotra. Thank you very much.